to dedicate this daf le'ilui nishmat in memory of the late Rav Shteinman. He wasn't just our mentor and teacher, but our biggest Rebbe. May his memory be blessing and inspiring to all of us. Amen. Masechet Shevuot, Tractate Shevuot, page 14. We are 9 lines from the top of the page. Tonight, the Festival of Lights, the beginning of Festival of Hanukkah. We, God willing, today have the privilege not only to finish the first beautiful perek, but starting the second chapter. On Hanukkah, the rabbi tells us when we're sitting at the front of the Chanukiah, or in English the menorah, there is a special sgula. It's a special beautiful thing that we should look at the candles and we feel connected. And some rabbis said that that's sgula lehavanat Torah, lelimud Torah. This is a special capability to pray that we'll be able to properly not only learn but comprehend in full and transmit it as well. There is a phrase that we said while we finishing those beautiful blessings. We said "Ela lir'otam bilvad," meaning that when we look at the candles, the great Sfat Emet, the previous Ger Rebbe explained, it's a time lir'otam bilvad, is a time to feel in our eyes, fully connected, and also it's a sgula lezikaron. It's good to some type of formula of remembering properly. We're living in a new generation. The exposure to technology is beyond amazing, and obviously there are a lot of advantages with that. Yet, I cannot tell you how many times people tell me that they're forgetting things. The last one, it was a fellow. I asked, "What is your telephone number?" And his answer is, "I don't remember, but when I call you, you'll see the number so you can write it down." So this Sfat Emet explains the same way as the tzitzit, the mitzvah of the 4 fringes on our garments, that the Torah said clearly, "Lema'an tizkeru," that you should remember. So the same way is sgula lezikaron benerot Chanukah, that there is a special capability to refresh and remember properly while we are looking at the beautiful candle lights at the when we do this beautiful mitzvah. Also, just a vignette of introduction, just few words. When we're about to finish this first perek on Shevuot, we talk about the offering, and we explained that there is a concept of kapara, of atonements, tum'at mikdash v'kodashav, and there is a concept that's called kaparat dvarim, and that's the conclusion, that v'chiper, when the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, express on behalf of his family, his fellow Kohanim, and the nation of Israel, and later on the world, it's expression of atonements, asking in a utterance, in words, for atonements, for forgiveness. So therefore, we should remember that this is one of the things that when we're about to light Hanukkah candles, we should remember the idea of the Chorban HaMikdash, that we still, as much as we are happy that United States Embassy is going to be in Yerushalayim, in the capital of Israel, but the deeper concept, which is Tum'at Mikdash V'Kodashav, that we dealt so much, the Avetz used the word Bal Yikahu with Yud Kaf Hei Vav, which means that there are feelings that some of us do not carry all the times, which is a person do not feel the choser, the needs of having Beit HaMikdash. So what exactly happened in Beit HaMikdash? The Avetz give us some glimpse of that, and he said, Ein od milvado, the idea that there is only God and there is no other things, because There are so many miracles we believe happened there, and it's influenced the peace in the world, is the opposite of kochi ve'otzem yadi, that there are people who believe in their power and their money and their capability, that I'm the one who makes a difference in the world. And the truth is, ein od milvado, is only the Almighty God who is the one who makes a difference in the world. So if you believe that God is the one who provided you with good health, with sustenance, with your needs, so in order to be connected to that important part, it's called in the Hasidic literature, it's called bitul hayesh, that the person should understand that it's not me, but it's God. And that's the point when we read several times in the Torah and express it in our studies, that the Kohen Gadol, as well as other Kohanim, and then the people, they do hishtachava'ah, which we are doing both on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim. We bow down the floor. It's pishut yadayim veraglayim. It's act of total submission to God, and by this way you will be able to feel connected. I also want to dedicate the shiur today to not only our teacher and leader, but a person that I have the privilege to be very connected. I'm sure that Shalom and David and others see some of those beautiful pictures that we have in our collections. The late Rabbi Shteinman of Bnei Brak, may he rest in peace. One of many things that I was tremendously impressed, it's his tzava'ah, it's his will, that from the moment he passed until the final burial should not be more than 6 hours, no eulogies, be buried like everyone else in a regular plot, and more. His act of tremendous humbleness while he was the luminary show us what is the real values. Sometimes you talk to people and said, don't you yearn to have the Beit HaMikdash, they have the leadership, they have the temple, they have... And in some people, and I say it with all due respect, when they come in the prayer, they pray that their team should won, that their stocks should do better, and more things like that. And it hurts in a way to think that that's the perception of what they really needs, instead of praying that we should have this reinstitution of our Beit HaMikdash b'mhera b'yameinu, amen. So here we are, page 14, 9 lines from the top of the page. There is a text in the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, chapter 16, verse 16. The text said, "Veshachat et seir hachatat asher laham," the he-goat for a sin is being slaughtered, asher, in atonements for the people. The question is, what do you mean by people? People, obviously, it's the nation. But since you see it's a different distinction and different form of atonements, therefore we understand v'hai asher la'am lehachei udeata, which means it's come to atone to other in addition to regular Israelite. Hai miba'ele de kamar achmana mid'am lehevei, which means, and logically it makes more sense too, you have an atonement that atone the people. That atonements that come toward a ritual involved with that sacrificial offering of he-goats, it has to come from a fund that people contributed, and not from the high priest or high priest treasury. The distinction here, Rashi explained, since it has come from that line from the high priest, we should know that it has, the funding has to come from people. Hahu ume'et adat bnei Yisrael nafka. They said no, the source for that the fund needs to come to people, is from different verse, they said from the congregation of children of Israel, he should take 2 he-goats. So we derive from that the fund has to come from people. But what do you mean by saying asher la'am? That it's atone for the people. So they said, here is the deeper meaning. The Torah, if you analyze those psukim, again, you can open, if you have the chance, Book of Vayikra, chapter 16. They use 3 times the same term. They use the word asher lo. And we explained many times that when the Torah uses certain words, it carries a meaning, especially if it repeats different meanings. And the Torah is very prudent, even letter carries a meaning. So here we ask, V'hai asher lo lehachei udeata. 3 things we're going to derive from the words asher lo. Hai mibai lichdetanya. Number 1, asher lo, the first time, mishelo mevi ve'eino mevi mishel tzibur. You know that you don't need to go much, even in the Torah, but you can see it in the literature of Musaf Yom Kippur. Day of Atonement, we're sitting in a synagogue, we have this machzor, and you open the machzor. I think one of the fascinating machzorim is the art scroll, but you can see it in other machzorim. You see all the explanations and the literature that involve with the additional service of the long one of the Avodat Bet HaMikdash, the Seder Avodah, the Yom HaKippurim service. So within that decorum of the Seder Avodah of Yom HaKippurim, you see that the Kohen Gadol go to that ritual several times. First he confesses for himself, his family, the fellow priest, the nation. So it's kind of almost like gradation, but first and foremost, he need to confess and get, in our language, forgiveness and be ready to be forgiven for himself. So in order to do that, the distinction is the Torah said, asher lo, the fund for that sacrificial offering has to come from the high priest's personal pocket, and not from the public treasury. יכול לא יביא משל ציבור, שאין הציבור מתכפרים בו, אבל יביא משל אחד הכהנים. Since that sacrificial offering not atone for general public, we understand that you cannot take from the public treasury, but how about if we take from their fellow priest fund, because part of that atonement for the high priest is for the fellow Kohanim. So Talmud lomar asher lo, we have the second one to emphasize, no, it cannot come from the Kohanim treasury, it has to come from his own pocket. Then we have the third time, Yachol lo yavi ve'im yavi kasher. You may say that he should not bring the sacrificial offering from the fund that comes from other, that should be lechatchila, the way that you yearn, you wish at the first place. But in a hindsight, if you already did it, it will be okay, befitting. Talmud lomar, so therefore the pasuk repeats itself, and now is already the third time. Shuv asher lo, hakatuv shana alav le'akev. So the pasuk thus repeat this expression to indicate that this is essential for the Kohen to buy the bull with his personal funds. And if he, I'm sorry if I said he goats, I meant bull, okay? And he does not do so, the offering is invalid. So here what you have these 3 times asher lo. We derive from that it is his. How can the previous Braita give us a different alternative way to expound this type of expressions? Tana hachei kakashale, ma ishna bid'am delo mechaper. What is the special the he-goat, chatat, of people that explains? why he does not bring atonements upon Kohanim, דלא כחסרי בממונה, because it's not come of the Kohanim's pocket, so therefore he's not atoned for them. Tosfot and Ritva said that's the derivative from the pasuk u'me'et adat bnei Yisrael yikach shne seirei ezim, which means the Kohanim has to be in seir apnimi, in the inner he-goat, partake of the expense. דכתיב אשר לעם בידי אהרון נם אלוקה חסרי בממונה, וכאמר כולן קרויים ביתו. Even the bull of Aharon, also the Kohanim do not contribute to the purchasing it, and the pasuk said it's called the house of Aharon. So when the pasuk states that the bull of Aharon atones for the Kohen Gadol and his household, we derive from that all Kohanim receive atonements. So the Gemara said, Bishlama de Rabbi Shimon, Bishlama de Rabbi Shimon al dichtiv trei viduyim vedam apar. So we understand that it's written 2 confessions in addition to the blood of the bull, so that the bull previous 3 means of atonements in all. כנגד, אחד כנגד שעיר הנעשה בפנים, ואחד כנגד שעיר הנעשה בחוץ, ואחד כנגד שעיר המשתלח. אלא לרבי יהודה תרי וידויים ודם הפר למה לי? בחייד וידוי ודמו סגיה. So it's enough to have 1 confession and 1 of the bull's blood, and that should be suffice. So the Gemara said, אחד לו, the first vidui is for himself, ואחד לביתו, himself and fellow הכהנים, כדתנא דבר רבי ישמעאל, כך היא מידת הדין נוהגת. That's the principle of justice functions. So the first, the Kohen Gadol need to confess for himself and he gets atonements, and now he's free of sins and he's total atones, then he confesses for his fellow priest. מוטב יבוא זכאי ויכפר על החייב, ואל יבוא חייב ויכפר על החייב. It's better to have an innocent person come and atone for a guilty one, and one guilty person should not come and atone for another guilty person. So you see here, וכיפר פעמיים, twice, is כפרת דברים, an utterance, and שעיר המשתלח, it's a וידוי, רק פעם אחת. But the bottom line is, the Ritva ask, why the Kohen Gadol not make a confession twice? And he explained, it's only at the beginning of the process of the atonements, but after it's atoned for Tumat Mikdash vekodashav, so he's considering also an innocent, and then he can go ahead and make all the vidui of the Seir HaMishtalech. Hadran Alach Shevuot 2. Just word of introduction before we go to the second perek. There is an old story. Imagine, I'm just using it to try to make it more applicable nowadays. A person carry iPhone, Talkman, whatever it's called, and he leaves the cemetery, and sure enough he found himself in the Beit HaMikdash. So there are people who are like sometimes spacing out. They forget. You remember we said at the beginning they should look at the Hanukkah candles and remember, because we learned that the person who's tameh, who's ritually impure, he cannot enter the Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple. So if he if it was intentional, b'meizid, so he receive karet. If it's a shogeg, is unintentional. So shogeg is different than all the other unintentional shogegim b'Torah. Right? Why? Because, for example, in Shabbat, if someone adds eggs to the cholent, right? Just use an example. Make it, how do you call the Sephardim? Chaminades, right? So he adds some eggs. So if it's shogeg, if it's unintentional, so he needs to bring korban chatat versus Beit HaMikdash. If a person never heard anything about dinei tum'ah, so he didn't realize that he's a tum'ah in Beit HaKvarot, that is a ritual impurity in a cemetery. So now he entered the Beit HaMikdash, and he entered to our class, and he discovered that there is a need to bring a korban b'shogeg. So, first of all, as we said, he needs to know that he is ritually impure. And it's all called Tum'at Mikdash V'Kodashav. The ritual impurity involved in Beit HaMikdash, meaning that a person doesn't realize that when he entered the Beit HaMikdash that he is ritually impure and is a requirement. And it happens after he did it, he didn't realize, or another option, that he ate something that is consecrated without knowledge. So let's zoom in and start, Mitzvah Hashem, the Mishnah Kedosha, the second perek, Kol Yediot HaTum'ah. The Mishnah tells us, Yediot HaTum'ah Shtayim Shem An Arba. 2 מהתורה, 2 biblical, and 2 Chazal Lomdim מהתורה. The sages derive from the Torah. So, as we said, this chapter discusses the law of Tum'ah in entering of the Beit HaMikdash and holy things, Mikdash v'Kodashav. We learn the idea of Korban Olev Yored. A viable Chatat offering is brought only for the person who is committed a sin that is totally aware that he is in a state of Tum'ah, he was in a state of ritual impurity before entering the temple, or eating holy food after entering. However, if he forgot in between, when he sinned, the Mishnah in the first chapter tells us that the number of cases of which someone bring the viable chatat, and as we explained, is depend upon his financial situation. A rich person have a different sacrificial offering, but it's called 2 that are really 4. Now the Mishnah explains what these are. Yediot HaTum'ah, Shtayim Shem Arba. There are 2 types of awareness of Tum'ah that are really 4. That is, there are 4 ways in which a Tameh person can become obligated to bring the variable Chatat, Korban Olev Yored, offering for unintentionally violating the sanctity of the temple and its holy things. 2 of these are said, bless you, in the Torah, and 2 are not, but derive from the 2 that are. So now the Mishnah explained the 2 cases involve a Tameh person eating from an offering. One of these is mentioned explicitly in the Torah, and the other is not. Nitma v'yada, if a person became tameh and was aware of it, v'ne'elma mimenu hatum'ah, and he then forgot the tum'ah, v'zachur et hakodesh, but remembered that the food he was eating was sacred, was holy, ne'elam mimenu hakodesh v'zachur et hatum'ah, or he forgot that the food he was eating was holy, but remembered his state of tum'ah. Ne'elmu mimenu ze v'ze, or if he forgot both this and that, his tum'ah and his holiness of the food, ve'achal et hakodesh ve'lo yada, and he ate the holy food and was not aware of his sanctity, or his tum'ah, or both, u'mishe'achal yada, and after he ate, he became aware that he had sinned, that by eating the holy food while was tameh, harei ze be'oleh v'yored. So such a person is obligated to bring the variable chatat offering, sin offering, the case where he forgot the tum'ah, but remember the food holiness is stated explicitly in the Torah, and the case where he forgot that the food was holy, but remember the tum'ah is derived from it. And that the Mishnah actually mentioned a third case, someone who forgot both his tum'ah and the holiness of the food, but this is not included in the count of 2 that are 4, because it's merely a combination of the other two cases. That's the Tosfot Yom Tov point of view. The Mishnah mentioned this case only so that we should not mistakenly think that if someone forgot both, he is considered totally unaware and exempt from an offering. Ma veyada v'nelma mimeno tuma. If a person become ritually impure, tameh, and was aware of it, and then he forgot the tum'ah, and vezachur et hamikdash, but he remembered that the place was about to enter was the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, ne'elam mimenu mikdash vezachur et hatumah, or the other way around, or he forgot that the place he was about to enter was the temple, but he remembered his state of tum'ah. Ne'elam mimenu ze veze, or he forgot both this and that his tum'ah and the holiness of the place. V'nichnas lamikdash v'lo yada, he entered the temple and was not aware that it was the temple, or that he was tameh, or both. But after he left, he became aware that he was seen by entering the temple while he was tameh. That's korban olev yored, which is he need to bring the variable chatat offering. So this is the case of someone who forgot the tum'ah, but remember the temple is stated explicitly in the Torah, and the case that he forgot the temple but remember the tum'ah is derived of it. Now, you see here basically two cases of awareness mentioned in the Torah where he forgot his tum'ah and either ate holy food or entered the temple, and two that I learned from them but not mentioned in the Torah, where he remembered his tum'ah but forgot that the food was eating was holy, or the place that he was entering was the temple. So we said, although a person who's ritually impure, tameh, is forbidden to enter most part of the Beit HaMikdash, that's the Mishnah in Tractate Kelim, the first chapter, Mishnayot 8 and 9, a different part of it have a different level of holiness. So an offering is brought only of entering those parts that are considered the actual temple, and not for the parts that are technically considered part of the temple mount. The Mishnah teaches us that which part of the temple obligated a tameh person to bring an offering for entering them in the state of tum'ah, ritual impurity. Echad hanichnas la'azara, someone who entered the original part of the main courtyard, which that's the place that the altar stood, existed at the time of the temple original construction. That's a Tractate Midot, chapter 2, Mishnah 6. Ve'echad hanichnas letosefet ha'azara, or someone who entered the part that's called addition to the main courtyard. It was a special area that added to the courtyard at a later time, because the added area was also require the sanctity of the courtyard, because in a way any area that added to the main courtyard with the procedure that described in the Mishnah, in Tractate Midot and others, so they have the same level of holiness as the original courtyard. So basically, a tameh person, someone who's ritually impure, who entered, obligated to bring an offering. So the Mishnah explained the procedure through which an area may be added to the temple courtyard or to Yerushalayim, because the city of Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, has a certain kedusha, level of holiness. For example, a number of the offerings, as well as Maaser Sheni, the second tithe, could be eaten throughout the city, but not outside of the city of Yerushalayim. So the temple courtyard has an even higher level of holiness, because some sacrificial offering could be eaten only within its walls and entering there, while Tameh obligated the person to bring an offering. So therefore, the expansion of Yerushalayim or the courtyard require a formal procedure of consecrated the added area with the same level of holiness as the original city or courtyard. שאין מוסיפין על העיר ועל העזרות, for we cannot make addition to the city of Yerushalayim or the temple courtyards. The main courtyard was subdivided into different sections. So it was a courtyard for the Israelites, the courtyard of the Kohanim, the area that designated for the altar. So the Mishnah referred to the main courtyard as a courtyard. אלא במלך ונביא ואורים ותומים ובסנהדרין של 71. So we cannot make an additional to the city of Yerushalayim or the temple courtyard except with the approval of the king, prophet, Urim v'Tumim. Urim v'Tumim was the piece of parchment in which the unutterable name of God was written. It was inserted in the fold of the Kohen Gadol Choshen, the breastplate, and the questions of national importance could be asked of God through the Urim v'Tumim, and the response will be delivered through the letters engraved on the precious stones of the Choshen, which would spell out in a divine answer. That's the Rashi and Ramban on Shmot, on Exodus chapter 28, verse 30. And the Great Sanhedrin, 71 judges, that's from the Shmot, Exodus chapter 25, verse 9, that they said that the approval of all these authorities is necessary to expand the borders of Yerushalayim or the temple courtyard and give them a sanctity. Ubishtei todot uveshir. There are 2 loaves of bread from 2 todah, thanksgiving offering. It's the animal offering that is accompanied with the 40 bread, and it was divided 10 of 3 types of unleavened bread and 10 chametz, 10 leavened bread. So the Tiferet Israel explained that when the 2 todah offerings were made, 1 chametz loaf from each of them was used to sanctify the addition. Each loaf was carried by a Kohen in the procession around the entire area, and therefore sanctifying it. And they said, Uveshir, with the song. So as we said, each loaf carried by a Kohen who march along with the people around the edge of the area that been added, while the Levites sing psukim, verses from the book of Psalms. Once the march is completed, the addition become consecrated with the same sanctity as the original boundaries of Yerushalayim or the courtyard. Ubet din mehalchin ushtei todot acharehen. And the Bet Din, the great Sanhedrin, the high court, marches in the way that the loaves of the 2 todah offerings were carried first. The great Sanhedrin walk behind them. Later we see it in Tedvav, in page 15b, that only of the member of the Sanhedrin had to participate in the consecration property, not the king, prophet, and the Urim v'Tumim. This is to give their consent, but did not have to be present at the consecration. That's the Tosfot Yom Tov. But anyway, v'chol Yisrael acharehen. And then the whole community, everyone of Israel, walk behind the Sanhedrin. They walk this way until they reach the end of the area that they wish to consecrate it. And they... that's the way the Meiri and the Tiferet Israel explained. Page 14b. So these are the 2 chalot todah. בסוף סדר ההקדשה, at the end of the process that they are totally consecrated, הפנימית נאכלת והחיצונה נשרפת. After the merge is completed, the inner loaf is eaten, and the outer, it's one is burn, וכל שלא נעשה בכל אלו, and any type of addition of that temple courtyard that was not made with all this approval of the king, the prophet, the Urim v'Tumim, the great Sanhedrin, הנכנס לשם אין חייבין עליה. So the one who entered there doesn't have is not liable to an offering on its account for entering inadvertently or to correct for entering intentionally. וכל שלא נעשה בכל אלו הנכנס לשם אין חייבין עליה. So any part, any addition of the Beit HaMikdash temple courtyard that was not made with all this requirement, as we said, הנכנס לשם, one who entered there while he is in a state of ritual impurity, אין חייב עליה, is not obligated to bring an offering for it. For entering basically unintentionally, or to have a karet for entering intentionally. נטמע בעזרה. If a person become ritually impure while he is in the temple courtyard, meaning that he's aware that he was ritually impure, ונעלמה ממנו טומאה וזכור את המקדש, and he forgot that the tumah, but remember the place was Beit HaMikdash, or נעלם ממנו מקדש וזכור לטומאה, the other way around, נעלם ממנו זה וזה, both of them, והשתחווה, או ששהה בכדי השתחווה, that if he is the tumah, or the person in the temple escaped from his awareness, and he was unaware, bow down, or he wait enough to bow down, בא לו בארוכה חייב, בקצרה פטור. If it came out of the temple by a long way, he's liable, short, he's exempt for an offering. זו מצוות עשה שבמקדש שאין חייבים עליה. This is a mitzvah, is a principle, is a law, that one has become ritually impure in the Beit HaMikdash. To leave immediately is the positive commandment concerning the Beit HaMikdash, mentioned in Mishnah in Tractate Shevuot, for which they are the Sanhedrin are not obligated to bring a special חטאת. ואיזו מצוות עשה שבנידש חייבים עליה, היה משמש עם התורה ואמרה לו נטמאתי ופרש מיד חייו, מפני שיציאתו הנאה לו כביאתו. רבי אליעזר אומר השרץ. רבי אליעזר explained that when it's come to a שרץ, that's Leviticus chapter 5 verse 2, the sheretz, it's a creeping animal. A person touch anything that is tameh, whether it's a dead animal or creeping animal, v'ne'ela mimeno, is forgotten from him. So they not aware of that. It's the whole idea and the framework of unintentional. עליהם שרץ חייב ואינו חייב עליהם מקדש. If a person is obligated to bring an offering only for forgetting that he had become tameh by touching a sheretz and then entering the Beit HaMikdash, but not obligated to bring if he forgetting that he was he was entering the Beit HaMikdash, or remember that it was tameh. רבי עקיבא אומר, ונעלם ממנו והוא טמא, עליהם טומאה חייב, ואינו חייב עליהם מקדש. רבי שמואל אומר, ונעלם שתי פעמים לחייב עליהם טומאה ועליהם מקדש, because it's written twice, ונעלם is hidden for him, to obligate a person to bring an offering both for forgetting the טומאה and for forgetting the Beit HaMikdash, the temple. אמר רב פאפא לאביי. So the Gemara challenge what the Mishnah tells us, that ידיעות הטומאה is 2 שאמר, but it's 2 that actually 4. אמר רב פאפא לאביי, 2 שהן 6 אביין. ידיעות הטומאה בתחילה ובסוף, ידיעות הקודש בתחילה ובסוף, ידיעות מקדש בתחילה ובסוף. So it's a 2, 2, 2. ולטעמך תמני הוויין, דאיקה טומאה דקודש וטומאה דמקדש. If you go this way, so you have also the tumah of the holy food and tumah of the temple in the beginning and at the end, so you have 8. Halokasha shem tumah achati. The tumah designation is one in all those cases. Mikol makom shitavian. But anyway, we have it number 6 in the way we count, but not 4. So Amar Rav Papa Lam Tamnei Havian. Rav Papa said no, the version is that it should be 8, which there are 8 awareness of Tumah that apply to the offering. Arba kamaita delomaita lelekeadei korban. So we have the first 4 yediot, which is betchila, he ate kodesh or entered the Beit HaMikdash, that bepoal lo maitan lekorban, lidei korban, in only if we have yedi'ah basof, awareness by the end. Lo kachashiv arba batraita dematian lan lidei korban kachashiv. Vika de amre omer Rav Papa lam tamne avan. 8. וארבע קמייתא דליתנו בכל התורה כולה כחשיב, ארבע בתרייתא דליתנו בכל התורה לא כחשיב. So it means that you don't have a special condition when it's come to burial offering. As we said in the introduction, it can happen for people that for all kind of reasons they just forget that they escape from a person's awareness. So what's exactly the lomau? Since he knew that he touched sheretz, touch a creeping animal, that's basically yedi'ah batchila, and he needs to bring a korban, or because he doesn't know that sheretz metameh, so basically it's not considering yedi'ah, and he's exempt from korban. What exactly the halakha that you're not familiar with? Ilay madelo yada ish sheretz tameh, it's fardeh tameh, zil krei beravu. So if he's not sure, so go with it in the even the Tinukot shel Beraban, schoolhouse, they familiar, I wish nowadays, right? But they know the law of the Choled, Achbar, Tzav, all of that. The Ramban and the Ritva say that he has some basic knowledge of the law of Sheretz, contamination, but it was unclear with some aspect of it. So Leolam, the Yada bitumat Sheretz, that he was aware, which is, he knew that he has touched a contaminating sheretz. וכגון, this is situation, דנגע בחדשה, ולא ידע, כעדשה אם מטמא או לא. He touched with such a small size of the lentil. So he's not sure if that's make it tameh or not make it tameh. So what's the predicament? כיוון דידע דמטמא שרץ בעולם, ידיעי. He knows that in general, שרץ carry טומאה לעולם, so therefore he's considering as a knowledge, as a ידיעה. Or Dilma, or you said the other way around, perhaps, kevan de badasha, if the size of badasha with the lentil is so small, lo yadai metameh or lo metameh alamai. Since you're not sure if this level of lentil is so small, you carry contamination or not, it's considered a lack of awareness. So it's a exempting from korban, from bringing a sacrificial offering. That's the way the Ritva explained in Rashi. So the Gemara left it, Teiko, Tishvi Yitzeret Kushiyot V'Abayot is unresolved. By Rabbi Yirmiyah, Ben Bavel Shalal Eretz Yisrael V'Nam Memenu Makom HaMikdash, Ma'u, you have someone in Babylonia, that he went to Israel, and he is not sure about the location of the last 4, which do bring him to the point of an offering. So again, let's understand it. By Rabbi Yirmiyah, Ben Bavel Shalal Eretz Yisrael, someone who is a resident of Babylon, he made aliyah, he went up, ascend to Eretz Yisrael. Ve'ne'elam mimenu mekom mikdash, he is not sure where is the Beit HaMikdash in the world. So the question is, Mao, he knew that the Beit HaMikdash in Yerushalayim, but he's not sure where is the exact location. What exactly Rashi said, consider Mekom Magdash, that he is in a chiyuv. The Ramban said that he thought at the entry, he is in his regular house. Anyway, Halo Mechayv al Megdash, Iyali bad Rabbi Shmuel Mechayv al Megdash, Halo by Yedia Betchila. So the Gemara said, Tzricha, Ali bad Rabbi, by the by Yedia Betchila, Mechayv al Megdash. ואומר ידיעת בית רבו שמע ידיעה מאי, מכיוון דידע דאיכא מקדש בעולם, ידיעה היא, או דילמה כיוון במקומו לא ידע לה, אלא מאי תיקו.